CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, brought to you by Green Lamb Laminates. The lone accused who is suspected of stabbing Saif Ali Khan has been sent to another 5 days of police custody. The cops have managed to convince the judge that they have recovered the broken part of the assault weapon. They've also managed to retrieve the blood-stained clothes of the accused, and most importantly, the police say they have been able to establish the motive and the sequence of events which led to the stabbing. But many questions are still unanswered, and the bottom line is this: we are 1 week into this gruesome stabbing incident involving a top-list A-grade star in the Hindi film industry, and we are no closer to knowing who stabbed Saif or why he did so. Saif Ali Khan has recorded his statement to the police on Thursday. This is at the Bandra police station, just a couple of days after being discharged from the Lilavati hospital. In his statement before the police, Saif Ali Khan has said that he was in his bedroom with his wife, Kareena Kapoor, on the 11th floor of his apartment complex, the Satguru Sharan, around 2:30 in the morning. This was Thursday, the 16th of January. He says they heard their younger son, Jay. There was a scream from Jay's room. It was apparently Jay's nanny who was screaming from that room. The screams woke up both Saif and Kareena. They rushed to the room where they saw this intruder. The nanny was screaming at the intruder, while Jay, who was in that room, it was his room, Jay was crying. Saif Ali Khan said that he tried to stop the intruder. He tried to overpower him immediately upon seeing that there was an intruder inside his younger son's room. But the intruder attacked him with a knife. He stabbed him several times on his back, on his neck, as well as his hands. Saif says then he locked the intruder in the room. But the question is, how did the intruder then flee? If he was locked in for about a good half an hour, how did he then flee from the room? Now, the report filed upon admission in the Lilavati hospital, the medical report as it were, also does raise some questions. The report suggests that Saif Ali Khan sustained multiple stab wounds, at least 5 of them, on his back, on his wrist, on his neck, shoulder and elbow. Saif Ali Khan's medical evaluation indicates that the injuries, the smallest of which was 0.5 centimeter deep into his body, and the biggest was 15 centimeters into his body. The report confirms that Saif Ali Khan was transported to the Lilavati hospital by his close associate and manager, Afzal Zaidi. We have not heard Afzal Zaidi's name up until now, up until Saif's statement was recorded. It was either believed to be Ibrahim, who is his elder son, or there was also stories of him and Taimur, who is his middle son, being taken in an auto to the Lilavati hospital. While the attack is mentioned to have taken place at 2:30 a.m., the admission form in the hospital says that Saif was brought to the hospital at 4:11 a.m. There's a difference of 1.5 hours between the time of the attack and the time of the admission in hospital. So who exactly is this gentleman, Afzal Zaidi? Because this is the first time we're hearing his name. We didn't know that such a person was there on the night of the stabbing incident up until Saif's statement was recorded with the Mumbai police. Afzal Zaidi runs a celebrity management company. Saif's statement says it was Afzal who brought him to the hospital. But the gaps in this timeline raise more questions as well. Saif Ali Khan's home is in Bandra West. It's about a couple of kilometers away from the Lilavati hospital. It is a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes at the very most for an auto ride late at night at 2 in the morning. Why then did Saif Ali Khan take an hour and 40 minutes to be admitted to hospital? The attack takes place as per the FIR, as per the stamp on the CCTV footage that was initially released. It happens at 2:30 in the morning. But the medical record of Saif's admission at the Lilavati hospital says he was admitted at 4:11 a.m. There's a good 100+ minutes between the attack and between Saif's admission in hospital.
What you have found in CCTV that you are claiming that this person which can be seen in CCTV is not your client who have been arrested?
As per the our private forensic report and the footage which has been shown, the accused's face and the body structure doesn't match to the person.
There are several discrepancies which have come in front, whether it's a CCTV footage or who admitted Saif Ali Khan or what exactly happened on that day, how your client basically was not caught in any of the CCTV footage in the area. About that, have you raised your objection in the court regarding the investigation?
Yes, I have raised the objection regarding the medical aid given late and the FIR delay in lodging because it has timely the police has not been informed and there was delay in informing the police. Therefore, he could not able to catch the accused immediately. And secondly, the family members were there inside the house. Then also they had not come with Saif Ali Khan to the hospital.
So there are certain contradictions in the timeline, the various versions given by different people. There's also a chorus by a lot of people, viewers on social media, etc., who've been asking some very pertinent questions which need to be answered. So what are these unanswered questions? Number one, why are there three different versions, three different timelines of one attack? Number two, if Kareena was at home, as Saif Ali Khan's statement to the Bombay police says she was, then why did the manager, who stays about 10 or 15 minutes away from Saif's house, why was he the one who admitted Saif to hospital? Why didn't Kareena go with him? Why did the manager's name come up now, 8 days after the attack? No one had heard of Afzar Zaidi, the manager, being present right after this crime happened, up until Saif's statement was recorded with the Mumbai police. Where was he and why does his name come up now? Number four, what explains, and this is quite bizarre, there's 100+ minutes between the attack, which happened at 2:30 a.m., and Saif's admission at the Lilavati hospital, which is at 4:11 a.m. What were they doing for 100+ minutes? If you can see a person with multiple stab wounds, blood oozing out of his body, the most pressing and most immediate thing anybody would do is to rush him to hospital. Were they trying to give him first aid at home? We don't know. But 101 minutes were lost between the attack and the admission. And number five, the features of the man who the police claim is the attacker, Shariful Islam from Bangladesh, his features and the features of the man who was revealed on CCTV simply don't match. So was the CCTV released prematurely? Some media organizations have used facial recognition software and compared the images of the person who's been apprehended by the Mumbai police and the person whose image is there on the CCTV, and they've said there is zero facial resemblance between the two individuals. So the question is, did the cops then zero in on the wrong accused? Okay, so many unanswered questions in the Saif attack tragedy. We want to be very clear. No one is raising any conspiracy theories here, but the fact is that some of these unanswered questions, some of these things which do not add up, need to be tallied together. Let's go across to Waris Pathan of the MIM party and China NC of the BJP. Waris Pathan, you've been asking some questions about, the sequence of events. Forget about the sequence of events. You've fundamentally said if somebody sustained such grievous injuries, 5 or 6 stab wounds, one wound which is so big that it left a 2.5-inch piece of the knife inside him, and 5 days later he's walking hale and hearty. We asked a lot of doctors about this, and doctors are saying that as long as the attack did not make you immobile, as long as the attack did not target your legs or hands, you can walk. What is the issue?
Well, Zakka, the attack on Saif is highly condemnable. Then to in a city like Mumbai and a place like Bandra, which is called like Beverly Hills is to Hollywood, Bandra is to Bollywood because the film stars are living there, and such incidents are occurring there since like almost 6 months. And what we have been watching is that earlier Salman Khan, it was fired upon at his residence, then firing took place at his residence, then Baba Siddiqui was shot dead in Bandra, and now Saif Ali Khan, a person goes up to 12th floor with a ladder in his hand, climbs, attacks Saif Ali Khan. There are 6 wounds on him. And just opposite my building where I reside, I know Saif is a nice guy and we pray for his speedy recovery. But there are several questions which are asked by the people, Zakka, especially the Bandra where I live. They are asking questions, if we can climb to 12th floor, what is our safety and security? We live on the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, the 4th floor. We have got small children, there are young girls in town. Tomorrow anything can happen. So it's just not a failure of the police and the machinery. Why no strict vigilantes kept them in place like Bandra? And then the police comes up with a version, they put up a photograph of a person who's walking down the stairs with a scarf down, saying that he might be the culprit. Then a few days back, we found that somebody else is arrested and they term him as a Bengali. but his father from Bangladesh or somewhere. He has shoot a video also. The lawyer of the accused is saying that he is living in this Mumbai since last 10 years. So what was the police doing? Why? What vigilante was done to stop such kind of people entering into our place? There are 4 states in the country. Zakka and all the 4 states are ruled by the BJP. So how can they infiltrate into India and come here? So these are several things. And Saif, after the recovery, the earlier day which we heard from the doctor, I think his name was Dange, a neurosurgeon. He said that 2.5-inch blade was inserted into there in Saif's spine, and we removed it. We operated upon that and removed it. There was fluid inside. So if this is such a thing, and he's walking out and showing hands, good. But then there are questions in the mind of the people. They're asking, how can such thing be happened? So is it not the responsibility of the police to come out?
Let me ask.
Just 10 seconds, I'll complete my version.
Okay.
Zakka, the family says we want space. Yes, everybody has right for his personal things. Nobody can interfere into any personal thing. But they must come forward, give a statement. Let the people know what has actually happened. Let the police come forward and make a statement. You remove the investigating officer earlier. The investigating officer is changed. Now somebody says that he was taken by his son to the hospital. Now the postmortem or the hospital document says that he was brought at 4:10 in the morning by a friend of Saif, Afsar or Zaidi, something like that.
Yeah.
So there are so many angles in this.
No, so that seems to be the new question that's being asked, Shaina NC. If this attack happened between 2:30 and 2:40 and the first CCTV footage of that man walking down the fire exit was at 2:33 a.m. Today we have the hospital records which show that Saif was admitted at 4:11 a.m. So there's a good 1.5 hours between 2:30 and 4:11. You know, if you had 5 or 6 very serious stab wounds, first thing anybody would do is to rush you to hospital. What happened in those 1.5 hours? And then this whole thing about who took him to hospital. Auto mein gaye the. First it was, you know, his son Ibrahim was called. Then it was said that his younger son Taimur was the one who took him. Now, out of this record, it seems like a friend and manager, Mr. Afsar Zaidi, whose name we hadn't heard so far linked to this case, he seems to be the one who accompanied Saif to the hospital. So these are, you know, loose ends that need to be tied up by the police.
Zakka, if I can come in, the whole country has been discussing the Saif Kareena case without having 1% of empathy to understand that he entered the hospital like a lion and left like a tiger. What should we be discussing? Safety and security of private properties in Mumbai? 100%. The police and their investigation? 100%. Has the police done its job? Yes, DCP Zone 9, Mr. Daya, Devin Bharti, the police commissioner, the chief minister, the deputy chief minister have not just manned this case, they have made sure that the perpetrator of crime, who is a Bangladeshi infiltrator, is brought to task and an audit takes place vis-a-vis infiltrators in the city of Mumbai. You have questioned the administration, you have questioned the political class, and you have questioned Saif and Kareena themselves. Now, I want to say only 2 things as a Mumbaikar. If there is a burglary, a theft, a robbery, the media asking questions, where was Kareena? In such a big house, if a wife is with one child in one room and the husband is on another, if he is stabbed, is he first going to go and rush to the hospital? And in the wee hours of the morning, if nobody is there and his child goes with him, if he catches an auto rickshaw or not? These are questions which the police is going to investigate and answer, and they have been satisfied with all answers. We should be happy that a celebrated family of the film industry is safe rather than going into conspiracy theories. Everyone is Sherlock Holmes. Today, Varis Pathan is Sherlock Holmes.
I said,
no, 1 minute. Let me finish my point. Let me finish. Then you are welcome to question me. Let me, Zakka, it's not fair because I sat and I heard. I've been on channel after channel. People have been questioning why an auto rickshaw, why was in the car, where was the wife, why was a 8-year-old child there, what was this? These are questions which are answered to the police. The police is the investigative agency. The police is the one who is looking into this case. And for all those loudmouths who are pretending to be Sherlock Holmes, I just want to say this is not an O.J. Simpson. This is a freak case What are we worried about? We are worried about Bangladeshi infiltrators. We are worried about security in private buildings. We are worried if the administration did not work. Do you know what you're doing to the Mumbai police by constantly questioning them and their integrity when they're doing a fantastic job?
No, ma'am, one
safe
second,
in my city,
ma'am.
This is a
See,
street
the
case.
point is, I said this at the
Now
top, nobody wants to fan any conspiracy theory here, right? Least of all, me or this channel. We are not into the business of fanning conspiracy theories. But there are certain loose ends which need to be explained. Like, for example, if the hospital records are showing that Saif was brought there at 10 minutes past 4, and if this incident happened at 2:30, which is what the FIR is saying, which is what Saif's statement to the police is saying, and he had 5 or 6 major stab wounds, clearly, you know, the first thing anybody would do is to rush him to hospital. There is a missing 1 hour and 40 minutes. Isn't it a legitimate question to ask what happened in that 1 hour and 40 minutes? Were they trying to, you know, give him first aid at home? Did they not see the gravity of the injuries? What happened? Isn't that a legitimate question to ask?
Whether it was first aid at home, whether it was a scuffle, whether it was time to get into an auto rickshaw, whether it was time to reach Leelavati hospital. You had the hospital doctors saying on record what transpired at the hospital. You have the police giving its own statement. Are we questioning the integrity of our administration? Are we questioning the integrity of Saif Ali Khan? Because then spell it out. Because what has he done? He has the right as a citizen.
Every question that is being asked is not a question of integrity.
Every question to the police, but not to the media.
Ma'am,
they will speak when they need to speak.
No,
but
of
look
course.
At the trial you're putting them on.
None of
us.
us.
Forget them. This is not about Saif Ali Khan.
One second. I want to again clarify, please, for the benefit of our viewers. Please don't cast aspersions on what we are trying to do, because look, I think it's the job of the police to come out and clarify these loose ends.
Yes.
People are going to ask these questions, and it's legitimate. In a democracy, you are free to ask questions. And people are asking questions because there are some glaring loopholes.
China is contradicting her own party
It is
leaders.
also the prerogative of the investigative agency to decide when they want to give this public statement in the public and to the media, and when they want to continue with their
Varis Pathan, doctors are saying he can walk freely. Kareena and Saif need to be given privacy.
They have answered the police.
Police have arrested one guy, produced him in court. Custody has been extended today. Why are you peddling conspiracy theories, Mr. Varis Pathan?
China is contradicting her own party leaders. Her own party leader Sanjay Nirupam cast aspiration on the conspiracy and police version. He has said that it's सब doubtful लग रहा है. एक आदमी उछलते कूदते आ रहा है hospital के बाहर. So he is already doubting the police version. They are doubting their own government, which are in power. The police machinery is under them. So how can China see that? And to give space to the family, yes, we are
I don't
with the family,
doubt our police.
but
I don't doubt
the
our
police must come forward. China, allow me,
You
see,
have
this is not the
chosen
way.
to script
When you were
it like a
making your
Hindi
point, I
film
was
story.
so quiet.
To
Zakka,
say
this
ye
is
bhi ho
not the
Okay,
way.
sakta hai,
one at
wo
a
bhi
time,
ho
one at a
sakta hai.
time.
Why
Varis-
She's
are
got
we-
red
why
handed,
is
so
it
she
not
wants
done?
to
Let Varis
cover up
make his point.
China, allow me to make my. I know you are in trouble now because you are going against your own party leader. There will be trouble for you because your party leader said he asked questions. He questioned the police. He questioned Saif's family. How could this happen to Saif?
No, but forget about Varis Bhai, forget about what Sanjay Nirupam is saying. Why are you peddling conspiracy theory? That's what China is asking.
We are in doubt. I live there. I stay there. People are very much worried. They are worried about the security and safety of their own self. It's just opposite my building. He's got flat even in my building also. So what will happen now if tomorrow somebody comes and climbs to a second floor? What will happen to that? And see, there are so many questions the police has to
along with the police,
Police has to
the
reply.
administration, the police
to many
and the
questions.
corporate
All right.
citizens have to partake in.
Okay, I agree with the sentiment. I agree with the sentiment that look, just because questions are being asked, whether by people on social media or whether it is by the media, it's not an attempt to question anybody's integrity. Neither is it an attempt to try and peddle any conspiracy theory, but I firmly believe that in an open democracy, people have the right to question, especially if there are loopholes, if things are not adding up, if sequence of events given by different people in the FIR, there's one sequence of events, in Saif's statement, there's another sequence of events, somewhere else there's another sequence of events. If those loose ends need to be tied up, and I think it's the job of the investigating agency to tie up those loose ends. And if it means communicating in an open, transparent way, then so be it. That's how it should be. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Shaina NC and Varis Pathan, for joining us. Let's move on to our next segment. The draft UGC regulations 2025 have become the latest flashpoint between the opposition-ruled states and the central government. The proposal to give chancellors greater powers in appointment of vice-chancellors in state universities seems to be the biggest sticking point that non-BJP states have. It's an attack on federalism, they say. Now, the Karnataka government is mobilizing opinion against this proposal by forging a multi-state alliance of opposition-ruled states. The Siddaramaiah government is planning to organize a national conclave of all higher education ministers in Bengaluru on the 5th of February. So, here's what their contention is. Karnataka could be possibly taking the lead to organize this conclave, but other South Indian states have already made their objections public. These non-BJP ruled states have alleged that allowing chancellors, who are mostly governors appointed by the centre, to appoint vice-chancellors as well as other faculty is problematic because it gives unbridled powers to a central government appointee. The draft is being criticized for sidelining state authorities by completely excluding them from the appointment process. The 42nd constitutional amendment moved by educational institutions, including for higher education, into the concurrent list, giving states the responsibility of establishing as well as supervising universities. Now, this change by the University Grants Commission challenges the very autonomy of states as well as strikes at the heart of India's federal structure. That is the contention by opposition-ruled state governments. Many states also claim that these new norms bar the state from ensuring quality education to its constituents, to its citizens. Another objection that these provisions would commercialize higher education by appointing individuals from the private sector without consulting academic experts or without having any form of academic experience. So, Tamil Nadu was the first state to push back against the new UGC guidelines. The DMK-ruled government has passed a resolution urging the centre to withdraw these draft regulations. A similar resolution was passed in the Kerala Assembly as well. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan emphasized that universities across the country operate in line with the laws passed by their respective state legislatures, and any move to impose central regulations without proper consultation would undermine the federal structure. Karnataka is, of course, holding this conclave in 2 weeks' time. West Bengal, too, has formed an expert panel to review these draft UGC regulations, which they say is anti-constitutional and anti-federal.
As a higher education minister from Karnataka, I've already sent in our reservations with regard to this, and we have sent to the Union Minister for Education, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, and a copy to the UGC has been already sent. But this is, we want a collective probably deliberations to happen, and so that solidarity should be expressed, saying that, okay, this many states are really not accepting this. But ultimately, it's the state's right which is going to be snatched. So this is a very serious issue. So we want to deliberate with regard to this and come out with a resolution saying that this is not acceptable.
All right, so a big political face-off in Karnataka and some of the other opposition-ruled states on the new draft UGC guidelines. Karnataka is considering hosting a summit of all these like-minded states. Joining us now is Mr. Anand Gurumurthy of the Karnataka BJP and Chainika Unyal of the Karnataka Congress. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Brass Tacks. Mr. Gurumurthy, let me start with you first. So the basic objection by some of these opposing states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, West Bengal, etc., is that A, governors get complete appointment authority. The state has been completely excluded from the appointment process of vice-chancellors. It challenges both the institutional autonomy as well as federalism, and that the state's role in providing quality higher education has been undermined if the state does not get a chance to appoint vice-chancellors. How do you respond to this?
See, first of all, without taking any suggestions, the central government doesn't move anything. According to the rules, we have to take suggestions, and we do according to the rules. All this is being done with an agenda in mind. If you see in Karnataka, just a few days ago, a new controversy started. In the textbook, they rejected NEP and they started telling we'll have our own education policy, something like that, in our state, in Karnataka here. And they introduced lines which was, even trying to put in students' minds that Bharat Mata is communal. Saying Bharat Mata ki Jai is communal, something like that they are trying to introduce. So all these kinds of agendas they want to push in. And so for that, they are appointing, people who are, having kind of ideologies which are against the country's ethos. So these are the things which we are opposing. When they send such names, the central rejects it and appoints somebody else. Now these people are doing something wrong, and then they are trying to blame the NEP setup, which is good for the country. Instead, they should start working on improving the kind of names that they are giving for the VCs. These VCs should be credible. They should not have any kind of lokayukta accusations against them or any kind of criminal accusations against them. If they come up with such names, who's going to stop them from appointing VCs?
No, their contention is that land is given by the state, resources are given by the state, grants are given by the state, everything is provided by the state, but the state does not get any say in appointing the vice chancellor.
So they can appoint a criminal as a VC, or somebody, some party man who is favorable to them but has no use in education. Can they appoint them? That is why NEP guidelines are there. Just follow the guidelines and a man will get appointed.
Okay.
That person, the human being, whomever they suggest, if it is according to the guidelines, he doesn't have criminal records. He is not,
Chainika Unyal, this is entirely being politicized by the opposition parties. None of the BJP ruled states have raised an objection. It is only, southern states and that too opposition ruled southern states that are trying to create an issue. Ultimately, it's a question of providing quality education. Whoever can provide quality education, that person needs to be put forth and that person needs to be encouraged. Why are you politicizing education? That's the question that's being asked by the BJP. You have to unmute, ma'am. You're on mute. You have to unmute, please.
Sorry. This is not the matter of politicizing an issue. Basically, you see, India is not a centralized state. It's a federal state by nature. First thing. So whatever and it's not a one-party rule state also. It's a multi-party rule state. So every voice should be heard and every voice should have the weightage in this democratic status. The UGC draft regulation which has come and the states have raised concern. So my point is that this UGC draft regulation has a serious constitutional issues also. The problem basic is that there is a act in which the UGC draft was made under that act that was passed in 1956. And that act basically gives no rights to UGC to create certain kind of guideline for the VC appointments. So the problem arises when the UGC began to regulate an area which is not a part of the Patent Act of 1956. So they are not following even the act of the UGC and they are talking us that we are politicizing this.
No,
this
but
matter.
ma'am, an act passed in parliament is not cast in stone. It can always be amended. So if they bring an amendment to change the UGC Act to amend...
It's not amendment yet, yeah, na?
No,
it's not amended. It's not amended yet. It's there only, okay? So you can't say it could be amended in future. We are doing something earlier.
Okay.
It can't be...
Okay, so that's one part of it. But answer the question about, the charge that's being thrown at the opposition is only opposition ruled states and that to select opposition ruled states like Karnataka are raising an objection for the sake of raising an objection.
Because we have the different point of view. We are the oppositions. We are the opposition. We have different point of view and we are putting our view. You can't ignore the act of the UGC also and you can't ignore the federal status of the Indian
Mr. Gurumurthy, you keep talking about federalism, cooperative federalism. You're undermining federalism by giving states no authority or say. in deciding
Nothing
who
like
will be vice chancellors for state universities?
Nothing like that. If they come up with names, every time the states are asked for suggestions, if they come up with names, okay, who are credible, who can be useful for the education, it is more than enough for us. But every time they either suggest criminals or people against whom Lokayukta cases are running, or some kind of ideology they bring in, which that person is totally against Bharat Mata and such other things. What is the point? Are we going to be in this land and say Bharat Mata is wrong? What is the point in pushing such names? They are doing some kind of injustice to this country by doing this, and then they say we are politicizing or we are going against the norms that have been set in. We are not against any norms. We are just trying to tell that let us have good people who can promote education, and that is the only need that
What is your
justification?
Earlier, the criteria used to be to appoint a vice chancellor, you have to have at least 10 years of professorship. You have taken away that criteria. What is the justification for that?
See, one thing is professorship may not be, criteria for administrative experience. So if somebody has administrative experience, and also there are certain other qualities that we have to see. One of the things is major things that was happening was criminal cases against people. That was something which government is looking into. In fact, that person should not have any kind of a criminal case. Of course, there are some cases which even they are put for some lousy reasons. So such things are disregarded. But some kind of public office he had and he has a criminal case because of that work done there. These kinds of things are totally not acceptable.
Okay.
And then there are the Lokayukta cases. There are many complaints against many VCs on in the Lokayukta which are pending, and these people again appoint such people. So these are the kinds of things.
So, Ms. Unyal, final word. Point is, if there are lateral entries in civil services, if you can today have lateral entry in administrative services, in other civil services, then why can't there be lateral entry in academics? Where is it cast in stone that to run a university you need to have X number of papers published or that you need to have a PhD?
Because you are running a university. You are not running any kind of profit-funded company. You are running a university basically. University which basically gives a new ideas, which gives a new administrators, which gives you many kind of another fields the people who lead in another fields. So university basically, you see, is a backbone of the country. It's a mind of a country. If you are defunding a mind, then you are defunding a country also.
No, but the point that Mr. Gurumurthy is making is that you don't have to be,
professorship also.
That you don't have to be a great professor to be actually a great administrator of a university. Ultimately, a vice chancellor administers
to be a great professor to run a university, because then you understand the importance of the university, then you understand the needs of the student, then you understand the need of the university teachers. How can you understand the people? You never been a part of a system.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to Mr. Gurumurthy and to Ms. Unyal for joining us and putting their points of view forth when it comes to this issue of UGC draft guidelines. As of now, I can count 5 states, opposition rule states, that are asking for these draft guidelines to be scrapped forthwith. The BJP is saying that this is simply being politicized. US President Donald Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship has hit a legal hurdle. A federal judge in Seattle has temporarily blocked the executive order signed by Trump on the very first day of his presidency. US District Judge has observed that the executive order banning birthright citizenship boggles his mind. He told the court that in his more than 40 years on the bench, he could not remember a case so blatantly unconstitutional. The decision comes in response to 4 US states, Arizona, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington, all of whom sued to block Trump's executive order. The 14-day restraining order will apply to all states in the United States. This ruling comes even as 22 American states and immigrants' rights groups have sued the Trump administration over the ban on birthright citizenship. They have argued that the executive order is both unconstitutional and unprecedented. Trump's ban is slated to come into effect from the 19th of February, 1 month after he takes office, and would impact hundreds of thousands of children born in the US annually who, up until now, would have got automatic US citizenship at birth.
And are thrilled that the judge issued a temporary restraining order directing the United States government to take no further action in enforcing and implementing the unconstitutional and un-American executive order attempting to eliminate birthright citizenship in America.
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
Donald Trump's first day in office as the 47th President of the United States was marked by a flurry of executive actions, one of which is a controversial proposal to rename the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. This decision, along with other significant orders, reflects Trump's America First agenda. It also does raise questions about international naming conventions, diplomatic ties between America and Mexico, and of course, the historical context in what could be a fraught 4 years in the relationship between America and its continental neighbors. On his first day in office, in his second term, Trump signed more than 100 executive actions within hours of his inauguration. Many of these were aimed at reversing many policies instituted by the previous Biden administration. Some of the key actions included renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Trump announced that he's going to change the name to Gulf of America, claiming that it is currently controlled by drug cartels, and he asserted that the Gulf belongs to America and solely to America. He also initiated a crackdown on illegal immigration, proposing that the National Guard and, if need be, even the US military be deployed in border enforcement and targeting foreign drug cartels. Trump also declared a national energy emergency, promoting fossil fuel production and rolling back environmental regulations. He's also ended the electric vehicles mandate, by which, by the middle of the next decade, America would have had to have 50% electric vehicles and 50% those which run on fossil fuels. He's also rolled back one of Biden's signature actions, which was the new Green Deal, which gave subsidies to those industries which were combating climate change. He's also formally withdrawn the United States from both the Paris Climate Agreement and also from the World Health Organization. All of these decisions are going to have cataclysmic and certainly consequential effects, not just on America, but also on America's relationship with the rest of the world and with these multilateral institutions. Now, presidents in the United States do have authority to rename geographic features through their executive orders. However, those changes are not unilateral. The US Board on Geographic Names is the agency which oversees naming and renaming of water bodies, of borders, of other geographical assets. The International Hydrographic Organization, the IHO, also plays a role in standardizing names for any maritime area. This means that while Trump can propose the name change from Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, it does not guarantee that it will be accepted or recognized by other countries. The International Hydrographic Organization, or the IHO, of which both the US and Mexico are member states, it works to ensure that all the world's seas, oceans, and other navigable waters are surveyed and charted uniformly. There are instances where countries refer to the same body of water by different names. It can be easier when the landmark or the water body is within a country's boundaries. For example, in 2015, then US President Barack Obama had approved an order to rename Mount McKinley, which is the highest peak in North America, to Denali, which is an indigenous name. That is a move which Trump has now reversed. He's restored it to its original name after William McKinley, who was the 25th President of the United States. So how did the Gulf of Mexico get its name? The body of water between America and Mexico has been depicted with that name, the Gulf of Mexico, for more than 4 centuries now. Originally, the determination to call it Gulf of Mexico was believed to have been taken from the Native American city called Mexico. So has the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico come up before? And the answer is yes. Back in 2012, more than 10 years ago, a member of the Mississippi state legislature had proposed a bill to rename those portions of the Gulf of Mexico which touch the Mississippi state beaches as the Gulf of America. The author of that bill later said this was a joke. The bill was referred to a committee and it did not pass. The Gulf of Mexico is one of the largest and most important water bodies in North America. It is the 9th largest body of water in the world and it covers about 600,000 square miles. Mexico's response to Trump's announcement was sarcastic. President Claudia Sheinbaum suggested that if Trump can rename the Gulf of Mexico, then Mexico could similarly rename America to Mexican America. She even referenced it with some historical maps. This playful retort underscores what's been a strained relationship between the two countries. It also highlights how Trump's rhetoric is provoking diplomatic tensions. While Mexico too could theoretically propose a name change for America, such an action would be largely symbolic. It'll not have any legal standing. International naming conventions typically require a broader consensus and recognition from multiple countries. Therefore, while President Sheinbaum and her comment reflects a deep frustration with Trump and his unilateral approach, it is unlikely that this will lead to any formal renaming effort of America. Another contentious point that was raised by Trump has been his threat to reclaim control over the Panama Canal.
We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Now, this assertion is rooted in a certain historical context. It was the United States that built the Panama Canal back in 1918. It controlled the waters of the canal until 1999, when it was handed over to Panama. This was part of a sovereign treaty between the United States and Panama, signed in 1977 by the then President Jimmy Carter. The transfer was intended to respect Panamanian sovereignty and also to improve ties between both countries. Now, here are the facts, and here's what actually happens in the Panama Canal. There are certain individual ports along the canal, some of them which are controlled by Chinese companies. But the overall sovereignty and territorial control of the canal is still with Panama, not with any private entity. Trump's statement that China is controlling the Panama Canal may be much more hyperbole, meant for domestic audiences rather than backed by hard evidence. While China has invested in various infrastructure projects worldwide, including in Panama, there is no indication that China controls or even owns the canal. The canal remains under the jurisdiction of Panama following its transfer from American control. All ships, including American ships, Chinese ships, all other ships, have to pay an operational fee, sometimes to private operators who administratively run the ship traffic through the canal. But the sovereignty and the jurisdiction of the canal rests solely with Panama. But it's not just the Gulf of Mexico or the Panama Canal. There's been a long-running dispute over, for example, the name of the Sea of Japan. This is between Japan, North Korea, South Korea, and Russia. South Korea, for example, has been arguing that the current name was not one that was commonly used until Korea was under Japanese rule, and that, of course, ended in the early 1950s. Similarly, the Persian Gulf has been widely known by that name since the 16th century. Some countries in the region just call it the Gulf or even the Arabian Gulf. The government of Iran, for example, in 2012 had threatened to sue Google over the company's decision not to label the body of water, at least on all of its maps. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Trump has taken these series of decisive actions on day one, actions which threaten America's bilateral relationship with Mexico. With Canada, for example, he has said that he plans to instill 25% tariffs on goods imported from Canada and Mexico starting the 1st of February. He's also earlier expressed an interest, a commercial interest, in acquiring Greenland. He says that's for strategic reasons and for controlling shipping lanes in the Arctic. All of these decisions are unilateral. These are decisions that have been taken by Trump and Trump alone, without consultation with the other countries concerned. How this will blow over in diplomatic terms is something that all of these countries, and indeed the rest of the world, is paying close attention to. One thing is clear, Trump in his second term doesn't care so much about diplomatic niceties. He wants to take America back to an era where it was expansionist, where it was the preeminent power of the world. And if that means some of the traditional relationships that America has, whether it's with its allies and partners in Europe or with its most immediate neighbors in North America, if those relationships were to be going down the drain, then that is a price, a political price, which Trump believes he can afford to pay.
States, he has now weighed in on the ongoing debate over the H-1B foreign guest workers visa, saying that he preferred both sides of the argument, while also noting that he liked very competent people coming to our country, is what he said. He signed an executive order that targets multiple immigration laws, including the long-standing principle of birthright citizenship. Now, this move has sparked intense debate and is expected to face legal challenges. At the heart of the controversy is the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which grants citizenship to all individuals born in the United States. However, Trump's executive order seeks to reinterpret this amendment. It asserts that children born to undocumented parents are not entitled to automatic citizenship. Meanwhile, 22 Democratic ruled states on Tuesday have taken legal action against the executive order aimed to end a century-old immigration practice. Listen in to what the U.S. president has to say.
I like both sides of the argument, but I also like very competent people coming into our country, even if that involves them training and helping other people that may not have the qualifications they do. But I don't want to stop. And I'm not just talking about engineers. I'm talking about people at all levels. We want competent people coming into our country. And HB1, I know the program very well. I use the program. Maitre d's, wine, experts, even waiters, high quality waiters.
That it's another important question where it's hard to give you an answer because of the uncertainty of what Trump is going to do on any given point. There's no doubt when we consider the problem of illegal immigration that the problem is severe and needs to be fixed. And Trump's position on that is very popular. What people don't talk about enough is the legal immigration system, which is hopelessly gridlocked. It's very politically difficult to change. My own view is that we should welcome additional immigrants. It's a source of strength for the United States. The visa program is a way to bring people in. They may decide to return to their home country. They may decide to apply for citizenship in the United States. But I think it's a very positive program for the United States. And at some point, we need to find the political will to allow more legal immigration. It's a question of, I think, the long-range future for the country. It's just important for any sovereign state to say we're going to do it in an orderly fashion, and we're certainly not doing that now.
All right, Siddharth Mishra joins me live on the broadcast. Siddharth, I think at the heart of this entire move is also one moot question. Is Donald Trump now equating illegal immigrants in the United States with the legal ones? And what is this going to mean for H-1B visa holders, especially the ones from India?
Well, that's absolutely right, Akanksha. In fact, there are many aspects to this entire immigration, U.S. immigration policy. In fact, in the run-up to the polls, Akanksha, if you remember, Trump has always spoken about the illegal immigration to U.S. In fact, he has also been against his supporters largely. His voter base is perhaps their demand has always been that there should be a strict policy should be put in place so that the outsiders should not take away the jobs here in United States. So that's what his supporters, his traditional supporters, those who have been voting for him since 2017, then in 2020. But it's a very tight situation for Trump, Akanksha, because it's not like signing an executive order or maybe making a statement that 18,000 Indians will be deported to India, because it's more this issue is more sensitive, and there is a constant pressure from the tech lobby, the business lobby on Donald Trump. So today also, if you see Akanksha, he has given mixed signaling when it comes to the H-1B visa. So it means that he has still not decided that what needs to be done, what steps needs to be taken, because here he has to keep the tech bros also happy. At the same time, he also have to do some things, take some actions perhaps, so that it can satisfy his traditional voters, those who voted for him 2017, then 2020, and then this time around. So that is also a big challenge for Trump, and this is the reason that he said that he likes both sides of this story, and his supporters, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, have openly been supporting H-1Bs.
Many thanks to you. He has now weighed in on the ongoing debate over the H-1B foreign guest workers visa, saying that he preferred both sides of the argument, while also noting that he liked very competent people coming to our country, is what he said. He signed an
The recent ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas marks a significant moment in the ongoing conflict in the Middle East that has persisted for over 15 months. As the ceasefire took effect over the weekend, it has raised questions about the implications of this temporary truce for both parties, that's Israel and Hamas. While Israel aimed to dismantle Hamas as its primary objective, the current situation suggests that Hamas remains firmly in control within Gaza. On Crux Decode, we'll explore how the ceasefire can be interpreted as a strategic win for Hamas, the precarious political position of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's ruling coalition, and the potential for renewed hostilities between both parties in the near future. Right from the outset, Israel's stated goal in its military operations against Hamas was to eliminate the terror group's ability militarily to carry out another October 7th attack. However, the persistence of Hamas as a formidable force in Gaza is evident. Following the ceasefire announcement, Hamas militants were seen patrolling the streets of Gaza. They were demonstrating their continued control over the territory. This visibility not only reinforces Hamas's authority, but it also serves as a powerful message both to Hamas's supporters and its adversaries. The ceasefire agreement includes provisions for a phased release of hostages that are held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners who have been detained in Israel. On the first day of the ceasefire, this past Sunday, 3 Israeli hostages, all 3 women, were released alongside approximately 90 Palestinian prisoners. Now, while this exchange may appear to be a humanitarian gesture, it also underscores Hamas's leverage in the ongoing negotiations. It's an indication that Hamas retains significant bargaining power even after a year and a half of this conflict. Hamas militants were also seen escorting some of these hostages to their release points. They are showcasing this narrative that they are the true defenders of Palestinian rights. This public display not only boosts morale amongst Hamas supporters, but also complicates Israel's claims of having decisively weakened Hamas. As the ceasefire took hold after 15 months of massive destruction and death, Hamas is badly wounded and badly diminished, but it has survived, and it has shown the world that it still remains in charge of Gaza. Thousands of Hamas fighters have already re-emerged from hiding. They've fanned out to re-establish Hamas's control. In blunt terms, Hamas is not just standing, but it remains the most significant force inside Gaza. On the Israeli side, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces increasing challenges within his own ruling coalition. The ceasefire has exposed deep fractures within his administration. One ally has quit, another is threatening to quit. This instability raises questions about Netanyahu's ability to maintain control over his government while simultaneously navigating public dissatisfaction. The political landscape in Israel is particularly precarious as Netanyahu must balance the demands for further security along with calls for humanitarian considerations inside Gaza. Already, one of the far-right parties in his coalition, led by Itamar Ben-Gvir, has quit, vowing only to return if the war were to restart. The coalition's other far-right party, which is led by Israel's finance minister Bezalel Smotrich, if they also quit, then Netanyahu would be leading a minority government nearly 2 years before going into the next election. There's also a crucial budget which has to be passed, for which Netanyahu depends on a precarious majority in parliament. His coalition's shaky ground could lead to further political turmoil if public opinion shifts against prolonged military engagement with Hamas. Netanyahu's statement following the ceasefire, reasserting Israel's right to resume military operations if necessary, reflects both a commitment to national security and also an acknowledgement of the fragile nature of the current peace. This duality also illustrates his struggle to appease hardline elements within his own coalition, while at the same time addressing broader public concerns about safety and stability. While the ceasefire presents a temporary halt to the hostilities, it is essential to recognize that this is not a permanent solution. The underlying issues between Israel and Hamas driving this conflict remain unresolved. That includes the territorial dispute as well as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and then there is deep-seated animosity between Israelis and Palestinians. The current ceasefire could merely serve as a pause before renewed violence yet again. The terms of the ceasefire include provisions for humanitarian aid as well as a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces. However, skepticism remains about whether these measures will lead to a lasting peace. The historical context of previous ceasefires also suggests that without addressing the root cause, which is how to find a permanent two-state solution, you really cannot find a truce that is likely to be permanent and that is likely to be durable and withstand the ongoing tensions. Additionally, both sides have also expressed dissatisfaction with some of the aspects of the current agreement. Reports indicate that Israel continued with its airstrikes even after the ceasefire began, citing violations by Hamas. Such actions could further escalate tensions and undermine trust between both parties. There is a three-phase ceasefire deal, largely unchanged from a plan that President Joe Biden announced 8 months ago. There will be 16 days before talks are expected to begin on the second phase of the deal, getting from the first phase to the second, which would really mark the effective end of the war with the near-complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. That is going to be enormously difficult, possibly even improbable, given the amount of concessions that Israel has to make. For this temporary ceasefire to go through, the new US President Donald Trump is being credited by many for demanding that Netanyahu do the deal right now, providing the Israeli Prime Minister with much-needed cover to do so. Whether or not Trump and his team, with so much else on their plate, will spend the time and leverage to push through the next more difficult phase remains unknown. Netanyahu has consistently refused to discuss who or what will govern Gaza instead of Hamas in a post-war scenario. He has essentially ceded the territory to Hamas, the very group that Israel has spent the last 15 months trying to destroy. In the process, it has killed tens of thousands of people, both civilians and militants. The war erupted after Hamas led attacks on Israel on the 7th of October 2023, killing about 1,200 people and capturing about 250 others. For Hamas, this moment can be seen as a strategic win. It remains operationally intact. It continues to exert influence over Gaza, despite the Israeli military's efforts at dismantling Hamas. Conversely, Netanyahu's government faces internal challenges that could jeopardize its stability amid growing public scrutiny. As both sides navigate this complex landscape, it is crucial to recognize that while the ceasefire may provide a short-term relief, it does not address the fundamental issues that are underlying below this conflict. Without meaningful dialogue and efforts towards genuine reconciliation, there is a significant risk that these hostilities could resume with renewed intensity yet again.
Greenlam Laminates presents CNN News 18 Primetime Studio.
Good evening, viewers. We are coming live to you from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Greenlam Laminates, and you're watching the